What is the latest with Dylan Holloway? Let's talk about it here on Locked On Blues.
Hey, this is Brayden Chen. Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I'm your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today, Locked On Blues, no Dylan Holloway at practice today. The Blues did practice in St. Louis. And of course, without a Dylan Holloway, there is also not an update on Dylan Holloway, but I want to tell you what I believe that means. I also want to compare the other series that are down by 2 right now. So the teams that are down by 2, Ottawa Senators down by 2 to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the New Jersey Devils down by 2 to the Carolina Hurricanes. And finally, why is there so much pressure on Game 3? I think it speaks for itself, but we're going to talk about the significance of the Blues' basically last chance to have a form of life in this series if they do win this Game 3. We have a lot to get to on today's episode of Locked On Blues, but I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. About 3 weeks ago, Dylan Holloway was considered week to week. Doug Armstrong made that announcement after he suffered a lower body injury over the Blues' 5-4 OT win against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Holloway, he played 77 games this season, 26 goals, 63 points overall, right? He had such a great season. Now, here's the situation. We have not heard any update on Dylan Holloway. I understand that it's week to week. And I could understand if the Blues didn't make the playoffs. We don't hear an update for a little bit. I totally get that. Where I'm coming from, and I think a lot of the frustration from the fan base right now is that we're 2 games into this series, and we really do lack offensive strength without Dylan Holloway. And I'll get more into what Dylan Holloway brings to the team. But to not get an update, right? It just seems to me a little bit weird. I know that with some of these other teams that I've been watching, if their players are unable to play, there's an announcement, unavailable for the series. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just been nothing on Dylan Holloway. And I think for Winnipeg, the Jets fans, they continuously say, oh, well, we're without our top 6 guys. Okay. And I address that on this podcast. And I address that even without Winnipeg's top guys, they're still overall the better team, right? They're obviously winning the series 2-0 right now, but I believe the Blues could still, at least win a couple games. Blues in 6, right? But the Blues missing Dylan Holloway is more significant right now than Winnipeg missing their top 6 guys. Because the Blues, they don't have the same kind of bench that Winnipeg has. I'm really happy that Snuggerud was able to, jump right in. But that's so crazy to me. And it's nothing against Jimmy Snuggerud, but you have him playing on the first line. That blows my mind. Because at the end of the day, a 20-year-old rookie that just got done his college career, now playing in the first line in the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, it just seems a little bit much. Now, he's doing fine. At the end of the day, he was the only goal scorer for the Blues in the last game. But it just really kind of made me come to the realization that without Dylan Holloway, this team just lacks shooting. And this team right now just looks slow. And I'm referring mostly to the final frame of each of the 2 games. They just look slow. And I got a comment, right? And somebody in the comment section said, Hale, you can't say the Blues aren't trying. And it's not that I believe that the Blues aren't trying. I know that they are. But I watched 77 games of St. Louis Blues hockey with Dylan Holloway, and I saw a big difference from when Holloway is in versus from when Holloway is out. And I know not one player maybe can make all the difference, but it did when Robert Thomas couldn't play. And today at practice, there was no Robert Thomas. Now, luckily, Coach Montgomery said that it was a maintenance day for number 18. But when I saw the reports of that, when I saw Lou's tweets, I was like, oh my goodness, if Robert Thomas is unable to play in Game 3 and we're without both Holloway and Thomas, there is an issue. But another part of me in this conversation about Dylan Holloway, and I do miss him dearly, and as I said, the lack of offensive pressure without him, it's noticeable. There's a lot of things that are noticeable. But it brings me up to this. Would it be beneficial to have Dylan Holloway if maybe he was 60%? Now, some of you might say yes, and some of you might say no. The reason why I asked that question is because a lot of people are coming at Colton Parayko. Now, I know Parayko doesn't look the same. He doesn't look like the same Colton Parayko prior to his injury, but he's obviously not fully healthy. You don't even have to have the team announce that. It's very blatantly obvious that he's not fully healthy. And yet he's out on the ice and he's playing with effort. I'll give Parayko that. Would you rather have that same situation with Dylan Holloway? And the reason why is fans are being really tough on Parayko. Now, do I think he should have been put back into the lineup, seeing how he is now? Absolutely not. And I commend him, honestly, for wanting to get back on the ice. But again, that's not his decision. There's something called a coach, a GM. Like, there's other people that can make the decision and say, hey, let's not play him because it's really not that beneficial to have him at 60% versus him somewhere closer to 100%. And in the playoffs, no player is going to be 100% healthy. But here's the thing. It's been 2 games, which is, I know, whoa, it has felt like more than 2 games. I know it has been. I've been very stressed out. But yes, it only has been 2 games. Usually you notice when players kind of begin to not feel so great towards like the end of the second round. Like in the first round, your players should be relatively healthy still. So I think that is my overall concern right now with Parayko. And that is why with Holloway, a part of me thinks, well, maybe he can play, but is it beneficial to have him out on the ice? That's what I'm going to go with. Because if he wasn't able to play the series, wouldn't you think they would have just rolled him out? But at the same time, with him not being at practice, that also makes me concerned because I've been around hockey for a long time with a multitude of teams. And even when guys, can't play, they wear the no contact sweater and they're still out there on the ice. So with him not being out there, that's where I get a little bit, oh, is this more serious than we think, or they just don't want any speculation? I don't know. But that is the problem right now, is the lack of transparency when one of the better players on the team is week to week and we're not getting an update. Now it's like, okay, we need some sort of answer because ideally Dylan Holloway would take the ice tomorrow night and I would feel a lot better than I do now. But without a Holloway, it's just making me feel like this offense is kind of crumbling. And another thing, too, about the offense, and we're kind of talking about younger guys stepping up, I want to see more out of Zachary Bolduc. I do. He's been playing fine, okay? Not horrible. He's been fine. But I do want to see him taking more shots on goal. Like, there is some things that I want to see when the battle's behind the net. That is a big one. I am all about dump and chase, okay? I think that at the end of the day, it works for some teams. It doesn't work for other teams. But if that's the method you're going to go with, skate 110%. I just don't want to see this team fall off and be slow and just get beaten up in every way possible. You have to win those little battles. Again, in the last game, if it wasn't for that unfortunate situation with thanks a lot, Nicoletti skating, and then Snuggie falling on to Binner, and then Mark Scheifele scoring. The Blues and Jets would have gone to overtime. They really could have if that first goal never happened. Or who knows, like the whole game could have been completely different. And the reason why I say that is because in the playoffs, every single goal matters. We saw what happened the other night with Edmonton and LA. Like every single goal matters. So you can't go in with the mindset of, oh, it was just a goal. No, one goal can change the whole entire contest. So again, no Dylan Holloway, no answer where Dylan Holloway is, just leads me to believe that there might be something that they're not telling us, or maybe I'm reading into it too much, but I want an answer in where Dylan Holloway is, because that is a player that I do feel like could make such a huge difference for us here. We really need him. Holloway, I hope you're okay, but like we need you. Before I talk about the other series, I want to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet on your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. The reason why I want to bring up some of these other teams, like the Ottawa Senators and the New Jersey Devils, is because I feel like each series right now that is down by 2 games, a 2-0 at least, we all have something in common. And that is that no one thought we were going to win any of these series. Now, what I mean by that is this. I think people out of the 3 series that I mentioned thought, and this is just what I'm hearing, like some of the guys that call the game, by the way, like on TNT, I do work alongside with. So I do know them. I'm not going to say anything specifically because it could be anybody, but they said that they thought Carolina was going to sweep New Jersey. And Carolina is better than New Jersey, and they're playing more aggressive than New Jersey is. So that series, I could see it being a sweep. Now, it's interesting because the Ottawa and Toronto Maple Leaf series reminded me a lot of the Blues and the Jets because, again, maybe it's not the score, maybe it's the fact that it's battle. The Battle of Ontario is so significant and big, but it just seems like there's a lot more physicality. And that the teams, I know the first period for the Senators was horrible, but the teams actually played really good man-to-man competitive hockey in that final frame, which is how the Senators were able to advance the game to extra minutes. And I think if you were to compare any of the series, the Blues, Jets, Canes, Devils, and then Sens, Leafs, and you could choose one of those teams that is down by 2 right now to come back, I think it's the Blues. I think that Ottawa, they've been fine. Brady Tkachuk got his first playoff goal, so I'm always happy for Brady. But I think they're just getting outplayed in every way. But they have been putting up a good fight. I think, again, the Devils, just don't see them doing anything. But the Blues and Jets, they were an interesting series, right? Because despite the fact that we did lose 2 to the Jets, it hasn't felt like these blowout type of games where the Blues weren't always in it. Sure, to have 1 shot on goal in the last 8 minutes, it's frustrating. It sucks. I cannot say enough bad words about it that are appropriate. But at the end of the day, the Blues were still putting up a good fight against this Winnipeg team. And I'm sick of hearing all the excuses. Oh, injuries. We don't have this. We don't have that. Okay, you know what? The Blues are still playing good hockey. And I had an argument with someone about this today. And I said, it's funny. I was watching a little bit of the Vegas Wild game last night. Wild won. I like that there's so much closeness. And I'm not seeing that with some of these other games. Like the Panthers and the Lightning. A 6-2 win for Florida. But you don't see the same closeness, the same aggressiveness that you're seeing with Blues and Winnipeg. And I do feel like Blues and Winnipeg, it's one of those series that's maybe getting a little bit overlooked because of all the other action going on right now. I get it. You have the Oilers and Kings for the 4th time going at it. Like, I understand why maybe Blues and Winnipeg are not getting enough attention. But what I can say is that this is a very interesting and tight series, despite the fact that Winnipeg is up 2-0 right now in this series. And that is why when I'm looking at these other 2 teams, specifically New Jersey and Ottawa, I can't help but think, wait, the Blues could beat both of them in the playoffs. Like, if the Blues had to play the Devils, I know it's like not going to happen because East and West. I get it. They would win. Same thing with Ottawa. I feel like the Blues are a better team. It's just the West is so much better than the East. And the West is usually the best. I hate to be biased, but that's how it is. I mean, whenever you have a team like the Golden Knights or Edmonton, like you're going to always have that sense of competition, the Dallas Stars. But either way, that just is something that I have noticed But it's interesting, like, how the national media is towards, like, the Senators right now, because they're making it seem like the Sens still have, like, a chance. But in reality, the team that I think that has the most chance is the Blues. You have the Minnesota Wild, as I mentioned, a 5-2 win over the VGK. Again, it's interesting because with the VGK and the Minnesota Wild, and again, I'm not trying to come at these two teams, but the Golden Knights beat the Wild, right? 4-2 game one, Wild 5-2. Like, it just seems like the closeness of that series doesn't compare to the closeness and the tightness of the Blues Jet series, if that makes any sense in what I'm saying. What I'm trying to convey is this, that this is a closer series despite the fact that the Blues are down by 2. And again, that is why I have been preaching on this podcast that while I don't necessarily believe in moral wins, little victories, I can be pleased with some of the things that I'm seeing, because at the end of the day, let's face it, right now it looks like Winnipeg. Okay? I believe in my team. I love my team, but that's just the reality. It looks like Winnipeg's going to win this. For now, who knows? But this is such a great learning lesson for the younger guys. And I know that mindset sucks. And that's not a mindset that I want to have. Like, I wanted to run deep into the playoffs. Seriously. Like, I was a little bit delusional. And there was a part of me that literally thought, what if the Blues win the Stanley Cup this year? Because of all the similarities to 2019. Like, I seriously did think that. And I hate that I thought that, because it's really hard to repeat miracles sometimes in life. But that's the fun in sports. It gives you something to believe in. And I feel like the difference was the amount of veterans on that 2019 team that just had more experience. And that's what it comes down to. I think Jordan Binnington is playing great hockey. I think out of any of the goalies, he is still the best of the best. He is a cup champion, and he did really play a big, vital role into helping Team Canada win the Four Nations face-off. Obviously, I know Connor Hellebuck, who is so good, is on the other side of the ice for Winnipeg in the net. Great goalie. Again, best of the best goalies in this series. But it just seems to me that St. Louis is getting such a short end of the stick right now. And I understand being down 2-0 is basically like, the kiss of death, maybe something, whatever, something corny, something like that. But I do think overall that the Blues have a really big opportunity here, and keyword opportunity, to maybe change the dynamic and change some things around, which is why I'm going to talk to you about why there is so much pressure on Game 3 of this series. But before I do so, I want to talk to you about my friends over at Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats that help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no-shell variety. It's the perfect grab-and-go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or I just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are also a classic favorite. The fact that Wonderful Pistachios is complete protein, providing all 9 essential amino acids, is so big for me, by the way. Which is why this is the snack of my personal choice. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. There's a lot of pressure on Game 3 for the St. Louis Blues hosting the Winnipeg Jets. And it comes down to one simple thing. Do you want to stay alive, or do you want to say, okay, well, they're not going to be eliminated, but you get what I'm saying. Like, oh, it could be close. Now, I think the Blues could win 2 at home. And I think that would be a very interesting dynamic. So let's go talk some fantasy land before we talk reality land. I kind of want to be a little bit delusional just for a second, because it makes me feel better about the current situation that the Blues are in, because they should have won at least one of those games, but they didn't. Here we are. The Blues go home. They win the 2 games. They win Game 3, Game 4. Series is tied 2-2, right? I know I said Blues in 6 all along, but let's go like change it to Blues in 7, okay? So 2-2, you go to Winnipeg, right? Winnipeg wins. The series is 3-2. You go back to St. Louis. The Blues win game 6. Oh, we have a tied series. We go back to Winnipeg and the Blues win. Now, I think that could happen. Here's the other scenario that I was having in my head. The Blues win game 3, right? Winnipeg loses game 4. You thought I was going to say win. I tricked you. I just want to see if you were paying attention. So 2-2 series, you go to Winnipeg and the Jets win. You go to St. Louis, the Blues win, boom, and then the Blues win in Winnipeg. Or here's my crazy hypothetical situation that probably won't happen. But again, this team did go on a recent 12-game win streak. So you got to be a little bit delulu. But what if the Blues win the next 4 games in a row? I know that sounds crazy. And I know saying that, you're probably like, okay, Hale, like that's not going to happen. But what if? And that is the beauty of it. Let's go say the Blues lose tomorrow. And I don't want them to, but let's go say they lose and then they win the next 4. Like, you get what I'm saying? Where the Blues win game 3, they lose game 4, and then they win the rest of the series. I know it sounds crazy, and I understand why it sounds crazy. But at least in my head, the one thing that I get so annoyed about is when people write off a series before the series is done, because that is the beauty of sports. If the playoffs were so predictable, it wouldn't be entertaining. And I know in the first round especially, it's a little bit more predictable just given the facts that, you have wildcard 2 against the best seed. Like, obviously, you're going to have teams that are in different levels, okay? Like, the playoffs are set up like that for a reason, because it's to give that one seed the best opportunity possible. And as they should if they finish, the best. Like, again, I'm not hating on how it's set up. I'm just saying the facts. But that's where the best upsets happen. I love upset season. I really do. I think upsets are the coolest thing in sports. And that's why I have to be a little bit delusional when talking to you here on this podcast, because the fan in me, I want to be reporter Haley so badly. And I'm reporter Haley for another team where I'm always so neutral. I'm locked in. For here, I'm locked on. But I'm locked in, and I can't have any fun with what I do because I have to state the facts. Here on this podcast, besides stating my facts, I am giving you other scenarios. I am allowed to kind of explore the inner fandom and have that come out. So I think that is why, for me, when I am looking at the series in this game 3, this is, to me, a must-win game. If the Blues go down by 3 games, it's going to be nearly impossible for them to come back. 6 teams have done it. I believe the last time was 2014. I want to say it was the Kings who came back, but it was a long, long, long time ago. It's 2025 now. So yeah, a long time ago. So for me, the reason why game 3 has so much pressure, it's kind of like that game against Utah, right? Well, evidently the Flames wouldn't have got a spot, but no, they would have. Would they have? No, because they beat the Knights in OT. Or shootout. Okay, whatever. The point is, it was a must win against Utah. This is a must win against Winnipeg. If you're able to make the series 2-1, you have life again. And that means something. You're not out if it's 2-1, because all you have to focus is, okay, tie the series, force more games. Because right now, it's only set to be 4 games. But if you win tomorrow, you're basically forcing a game 5. So that is the goal right now. 1 game at a time, 1 period at a time, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes done, 60 minutes of hockey. Each period, the Blues need to have the same mindset. Win the period, win the game. Win the period, win the game. And that, to me, is why I feel so good about tomorrow night, because they know if they lose tomorrow, honestly, that 4th game, just dress like Matthew Kessel. Like, I don't know. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it just, you need to win tomorrow. That's the mindset. I am freaking out about it. I'm happy with the schedule. I think there was like a concert tonight or something, but with how the schedule was, happy about it, because I needed a couple days to just kind of recuperate, because on Monday night, I really was freaking out about what happened. But I will talk to you tomorrow to give you more of an insight game preview. Okay? Have a good day, everybody. Let me know down in the comments below if you think the Blues can win in Game 3. Again, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And like always, let's go Blues.